to guide, now I just stumble. I had the answers, now I just mumble. What's my purpose? What's my reason?
No matter what your opinion is, new all-time highs are definitely something that we'd all be looking for. And that's certainly not what we've gotten over the last few weeks, as Bitcoin has mostly been a stablecoin. I don't mind because I was on one of my only vacations of the year and I didn't miss much. But coming back, I've come to notice a pretty dangerous trend. So I have a very strong message right now for the crypto community. Per Bitcoin magazine, we've just heard that Joe Biden is flipping and flopping and flipping once again on crypto, and he's now supposedly going to be accepting crypto donations from the crypto community. Now, of course, this is most likely in response to the fact that Trump has raised over $100 million from the crypto community. I think it's probably far north of that because he has chosen to back the industry. And he's making all kinds of bold claims supporting crypto, which we'll get to a little later on in this episode. But one of the great ironies is that he's doing so via Coinbase Commerce. Now, it's absolutely crazy because, as Bully here explains, the Biden administration is currently suing Coinbase, Kraken, and Uniswap as unregistered securities brokers. So how are you going to sell that crypto you raise? Are you going to sell it via Coinbase, via Kraken? How are you going to sell the crypto on Uniswap? It is absolutely disgusting, the level of irony that Joe Biden decides he wants our crypto now just so we can have more money to wage a war on crypto. Am I reading that right?
What?
Does he really think anyone's going to fall for this? I'm certainly willing to donate to a good Democrat if they're going to say unseat Liz Warren or do something positive for the industry. But you can't have years of destructive behaviors towards crypto and expect that we're just going to flip-flop and give you all of our precious coins and, even more specifically, dox our wallets directly to you. Come on, that's crazy. And I echo this sentiment, okay? The gall of these people. They spent the last 4 years systematically trying to destroy crypto, the industry that I love, that literally my entire livelihood is here. Operation Choke Point 2.0, killing Silvergate, calling us tax cheats and terrorists, suing every reputable crypto company, and vetoing bipartisan legislation. Let us not forget that he vetoed a pro-crypto bill. What was it, just like 2 weeks ago or something? I don't know. As you can see from this clip, he shakes Chuck Schumer's hand and then forgets about 3 seconds later. But we didn't forget, sir. We didn't forget that you're trying to kill crypto, and I don't think it's fair to be asking for our precious coins. Let me know how you think in the comment section below. Again, it is an election year, so I can't promise no politics, but I can promise that I'm not giving my coins to someone who's trying to kill the industry. In my view, we are in the final half of what I call time-based capitulation. You see, I didn't think this was where we were going. Given the excitement that led up to the halving, the actual charting led us to believe that the cycle was about to take off much sooner than we've seen. But what we've gotten instead is a tremendous amount of sideways, the kind of sideways that gets people to capitulate. Yes, sideways capitulation. And that's because while Bitcoin's going sideways, a lot of the alts have slowly shed some significant market cap. My message to you is quite simple. Do not let it win. You see, the first half of the bear market is price-based capitulation. That's when prices dump from extremely high values to extremely low values. But then the second half of the bear market is mostly time-based capitulation, where people run out of dopamine. You see, few people realize how addictive the charts moving, the news cycle, the videos, the updates, all of the drama of crypto can be extremely intoxicating. And without all of those consistent doses of energy, people give up their coins. Now, I've found that the most boring and the most toxic that the crypto community becomes is typically where the biggest opportunities arise. Now, I grabbed this chart from my buddy Miles, and as you can see here, the altcoin markets peaked exactly 546 days after the halving the last 2 cycles. That would mean that we're a very long way away from the altcoins actually peaking. And you can see that they're not in the same aggressive near all-time high posturing that Bitcoin's at. No, the data is showing that the Bitcoin run has been far ahead of the altcoins. And while some channels might say,
hey, look, it's time to capitulate those altcoins and jump into Bitcoin,
my personal belief is that it's not really necessary, because if you're in the right altcoins, which we'll discuss what the right ones are, when the market does turn onwards and upwards, the gains are worth the wait, not only by a little bit, but by a lot of it. And so in my opinion, the question is, when is this going to happen? But back to the key point here is there could be some time here before we see a massive run. In fact, my current base case is that things things will get real spicy in Q4 of this year. But the truth is that the backdrop for crypto has simply never been better. And that's because not only is the United States actively in the process of legalizing crypto and protecting against CBDCs, giving a hospitable home for builders of this industry like we've never seen before, we're also on the verge of seeing the first rate cuts come to this monetary cycle, the first in nearly 3 years. Literally, as I'm recording this, the FOMC just came out with a hawkish dot plot, meaning that they're not going to cut as many times as we thought, but this is really close. But many are predicting that this dot plot was decided before the CPI print yesterday, which was super soft. In the end, the Fed has to start cutting. And whenever they do that, they're going to be injecting liquidity into risk assets. So whether that happens this year or next year, it's going to be a massive catalyst for the altcoins and for the more risky assets. And it couldn't come at a more perfect time. And that's because Wall Street is not just waking up to Bitcoin. They're waking up to this entire industry. $1.6 trillion asset manager Franklin Templeton is going to begin a crypto fund. And you can think of these as big dominoes that knock over many other dominoes, essentially legitimizing this asset class altogether. And this is why I think right now is a tremendous pivot point for the market. And it is one of the biggest opportunities we'll see, because right now, utility coins have been as undervalued and hated as I've ever seen them, even in the 2019 bear market. They're even more hated now because meme coins have actually pumped really hard. Now, never mind the fact that there's about 1 million new meme coins created a day, and almost all of them, 99.999% of them, go to literal zero. The fact that a few of them pump really hard is attracting all of the mindshare of the degenerate money in crypto. Now, for that reason, I believe we will all get to enjoy some of the cheapest utility coin prices that we will ever see relative to where they're about to go in this cycle. Now, of course, if you bought early in the last 2 cycles, it was quite similar because people were wildly underpricing the chance of crypto success. And it's happening again, but it's happening for the most important builder coins in this entire market. Whereas right now, everyone's focusing on memes, believing that there is no value in building stuff in crypto. Well, I'm telling you, this $1.6 trillion bucket of money is not going to be going after racist memes on the blockchain. Yes, there has been way too much racist meme coin stuff going on. I personally find it deplorable. Even though I do play around with some meme coins, I do not think that this is where the big money is going to flock. I believe in positioning around the most important use case narratives in this industry and getting there before the bankers do. And that's precisely the topic that I'll be focusing on throughout the summer. So while the current money in this industry turns its back on some of the most important infrastructure in the industry, I'm going to be there to be scooping up coins. And I'm going to tell you my thought process on what coins I find most valuable and where I think the big money is going to flow. But in the meantime, we have an incredible turn of events, which is, of course, we have been covering how Donald Trump shifted single-handedly the political discourse around cryptocurrency in what seems like a fraction of a minute by just uttering that if you like crypto, vote for Trump. Well, things have gotten even more spicy as he has gotten deeper into the crypto community, now saying that he wants all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA, which I find to be a hilarious thing to say. But essentially, he's saying that Bitcoin will help America be energy dominant. This reflects a fairly sophisticated understanding of Bitcoin mining, and that essentially he wants America to be the home of Bitcoin mining, which is a stance we have not heard reflected anywhere else in the political spectrum, specifically in the United States. This is a major step forward, and it shows that at least one side of the political aisle is really understanding crypto. And the hope is that this will actually translate to the other side of the aisle as well. Remember, my allegiance here on this channel is to free money. The Joe Biden meme at the beginning of this video is just funny. I think anyone can appreciate it. But let's be real. I just want a free and hospitable home for cryptocurrency in the United States, and I don't intend to make this channel about politics at all. However, there has become an existential reality that one side of politics has recently been very obsessed with trying to kill crypto. So let's just keep our reality hats on here and just understand that this election, crypto is on the ballot. Now, if that weren't enough, it's important to realize that there's been another major shift, a major shift that many people might not understand just how big it is. And that is that China has once again re-entered the chat. We have here an exclusive view here. This is the 3rd largest offshore exchange, Bybit. Now, Bybit had been cutting off Chinese nationals for many years. Believe it or not, when China says not to do something, you don't mess with them. In fact, I believe a lot of the Bybit employees are from mainland China. It's not confirmed, but I believe that's the case. That's what I've heard. And Bybit has cut off Chinese users a very very long time ago, but now you can use a Chinese mainland ID card to actually get a Bybit account. And this is a wildly big change of events. Now, for people who weren't here in the olden days, crypto was pretty much a Chinese phenomenon. It was started here in the West, but it became wildly popular in China. And the roots of this go back to trading World of Warcraft gold in the early 2010s. If you were around in the 2016 and 2017 days, you'll know that Bitmain Bitcoin miners were effectively the best equipment you could buy. These were these application-specific integrated circuits, or ASIC miners, that you had to buy if you wanted to mine Bitcoin. And they were made by a company called Bitmain, which was out of China. That was a quick little history lesson for you here. The net effect was that almost all of the Bitcoin mining was happening in China, and the Chinese retail crypto audience was monstrously big. This was equal to, if not bigger than, the American crypto audience. And part of the logic was that people were trying to get money out of China, and this was a very effective way to do so. This change of pace by Bybit is effectively an indication that China is loosening up their stance on crypto. And if they're loosening up their stance, not just on having some ETFs, something to that effect, but actually letting their users trade crypto once again, well, this could be absolutely massive. Now, we know China is all about the stop start, we'll open the curtain, close the curtain, open it again. They never try to let their people get too comfortable, and they're certainly not lovers of individual freedoms. But let's just say this unequivocally. If China can start trading more freely in crypto land, we have no idea really the heights that Bitcoin and other cryptos could fly this cycle. It could be an astronomical win. Now, despite that Bitcoin has been mostly a stable coin around 69K, we've seen nonstop accumulation by the ETFs, which now hold over 300,000 Bitcoin, or $21 billion in Bitcoin. You can see that is the fastest ETF ever to reach $20 billion in assets, IBIT. And that's just what was this, 150 days? The next one in line was almost 3 years, right? Almost 1,000 days here. And you had IBIT here in less than half a year. This is crazy, a third of a year. This is absolutely monstrous performance. Now, something worth noting is that a lot of the Bitcoin buying right now in the ETF is actually what they call cash and carry trades. Now, without getting into the details, essentially people are buying the ETF where there's a price discrepancy between the ETF and the actual spot markets of Bitcoin. They're buying the ETF and maybe selling shorts on the open market. So what people think is happening here is that most of this ETF buying is by big institutions that are arbitraging between little price differences between the public Bitcoin markets and maybe the stock market. You can think of it as that. They're arbitraging little changes in the spot market differences. Mostly, essentially, the data thinks people are buying Bitcoin and then selling futures. So it's a market neutral trade that they're getting a little bit of arbitrage on. Now, I don't think I can explain this in a very simple way, but you could think of this as they're buying Bitcoin for 69K and then they're selling it on the open market for 69K and $10 or something like that. And they're doing it in big size. So they're buying a lot, but selling an equal amount on the open market. And that's why the price hasn't gone skyward. And that explains how you can have tens of billions of dollars in accumulation of ETFs and not that much price change on the Bitcoin open markets. This is a very interesting dynamic, but it once again brings us back to this chart and shows us that, yeah, we've had a huge uptick in Bitcoin price here, but we are still in these boring zones here. We're still in these early zones. I mean, look at the 2 cycles ago, it looks like a flat line. There's absolutely no topography here. And in the last cycle from the halving where we're at, it was, several months before we started seeing really major price increases. However, by the end of the year, 6 months out, we did see the hockey stick begin. And that's the hope, is that by about 6 months out, we'll start seeing the real hockey stick take shape. Meanwhile, an update is that I am adding Robinhood to my sort of more traditional safe portfolio for crypto exposure because they just bought a crypto exchange Bitstamp. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but this is a similar thought process to Coinbase, although I don't think they have nearly the drivers that Coinbase have. I think Robinhood is a decent buy, so I've added it to my portfolio. Again, this is more of a stonks play. I don't think it's going to get you a 10x here. This is probably a few X's, but essentially I'm just converting some of the T-bills that I have been sitting on into Robinhood stock. Now we're about to get into the altcoin sector of this, and I'm going to start giving you my thesis on what's going to play out, because it's clear that crypto is in as good of a position as it's ever been. However, it's important now to talk about how I'm going to be positioning for the next sector of crypto. Before I do that though, I want to shout out my sponsor, of course. As you guys know, my only sponsor on this channel is NordVPN. This is by far the simplest and easiest way to protect yourself online as a crypto user. If you're not using NordVPN, you're being an absolute fool, because you can protect yourself with such ease, and it's literally a couple of bucks a month. You can get a big fat juicy discount for signing up in the description below with the link there. It supports the channel and I appreciate you. Again, it's just a couple of dollars a month, fully refundable if you don't like it. As I've said before, there are many mistakes you can make while browsing and trading crypto, but not using a VPN is so silly. You won't be forgiven for that one. So definitely get a VPN. It is worth worth your couple bucks a month. Now let's get to the juicy stuff. Throughout the last few months, I've seen a lot of tweets like this. This is a May tweet here from OSF. He's saying he sold all of his SOL for a whiff, and the thesis is the dog has a hat. Look, May 27th, I'm not here to roast him. So on May 25th, Dog with Hat had a price of, what was this? 318, but in a little over 310, right? It was pretty volatile. Right now it's sitting at 275, whereas Solana had a price of 168 here, 169, and now it's sitting at 158. So they both dropped. I'm not sure. I didn't calculate the percentage drop. What I'm trying to say here is that this mentality has become very popular, which is that why am I betting on these assets with a ton of utility when I should just bet on the memes? Because the memes are going to pump harder. The memes more pumpy, more uppy, up. And that's all that matters in crypto. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is a bear market strategy that is only being popularized, in my opinion, by a bunch of degenerates that have been burned too many times. We've all become jaded. And in my opinion, that is not what the future, at least the institutional next chapter of crypto, is going to yield. I believe the next institutional buyer chapter of crypto is going to be all about infrastructure and utility. Now, of course, retail mania, whenever that comes, will definitely be important, and it will probably see a lot of meme coins. But remember, a lot of the retail traders are living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, and the big money is being held by institutions who are chasing free yield from the Federal Reserve in treasury bills that are getting paid more than they've ever gotten paid in the past 20, 30 years to just hold T-bills. So of course, that's what they're doing right now. And as soon as we start getting rate cuts, which we talked about, that money is going to start flowing into risk assets, but not 4chan memes. It's going to be flowing into what it sees as the leading king-made most important protocols in crypto. And I believe that this mentality, and by the way, OSF is a big friend of the channel, highly respect him. I'm just using this to illustrate a point. This mentality is going to open up the biggest opportunities in the space for the protocols that are still building. And so it's really important to understand which ones are still building and will be underpriced and undervalued when that does happen. Now, for me, I've been saying SOL is one of my easy plays of the cycle. I've been saying it since it was way sub $20. Obviously, I didn't get the $8 buy-in, but I was buying between 13 and 17 very heavily. And Chris Berniski says SOL at $1,000 is a similar fully diluted value to ETH at 5K, one cycle behind. I believe that this is a fair comparison because people compare SOL and ETH quite a bit. There's a bit of a war there. And I believe SOL is in many ways more advanced than ETH was on the last cycle in some ways. In some ways it's not, but at the same time, it's a very compelling narrative. And I believe that it equating to something around where ETH had at 5K last cycle, that could very easily be a compelling argument. Certainly something that I wouldn't be shy of. But my target was all this time, $800. I made the price target call out in the middle of the bear market, and I'll stick with it. I'll certainly be a seller with SOL at $800. Maybe not all of my stack, but a really, really big chunk. And now it's time for me to talk briefly before I get into other altcoins about what's going on, because the thing I'm most passionate right now about, it's not trading. Trading has become quite boring. I have most of my positions. They haven't changed. And that's why I haven't been doing a lot of content, because I don't have updated trading advice for you. I'm just holding on to these positions. I'm not going to capitulate them, and I'm going to wait for the market to wake up and to flow money into the most valuable coins in AI, gaming, layer ones, and utility coins that I think are going to change the world. And speaking of the coins that I think are going to change the world, I want to be very clear. The team at Superverse is working morning to night, building one of the most important pieces of infrastructure that this industry has seen. I believe what's happening at Superverse and what will be coming to Superverse with the layer 2 solution will be one of the most important steps forward. And I also believe that there is a blessing finally in the gaming market in that people are talking about crypto gaming being dead once again. Now, they were talking about crypto gaming being dead all throughout the 2023 bear market, and that's when I got to scoop up the best protocols in the space for absolutely dirt cheap, a disgusting, disrespectful discount. And I believe that there will be a chance for people to scoop up discounted coins during the next month or two, a period which we have to be joking now is called sideways summer because it has been so sideways. But for me, it is super summer because the amount of building and development going on there is absolutely crazy. And in a world where institutions are starting to pick up crypto assets, I believe that they will go for category leaders in the most important categories in the space. And as such, the mission of Superverse has to be to lead the category, to be one of the most attractive assets for those institutions to be exposed to. That should be the end goal, is to get institutional support for institutional grade infrastructure. With all that said, I am shrouded in negativity about utility coins, about gaming coins. All I hear is people abandoning their bags to go buy meme coins. And I can tell you right now, unequivocally, that I've never been more bullish, that I am speeding up and putting effort into the most important things while other people are turning away and slowing down. I've done this so many times. I've seen this movie so many times where people have told me that what I'm working on and focused on isn't that meaningful or isn't going to be valuable. And my thesis has remained unchanged. And this is why I've been able to perform so highly, is that when you build a thesis that has a clear and directed endpoint and is backed by logic, data, and then a little bit of foresight, it's really easy to shake off the doubters. I'm not only confident that Superverse will be a category leader in gaming, but I believe that what Superverse is working on will become one of the most important things happening in the industry. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on all summer. It is going to be a super summer and there's going to be a ton of fun stuff going on. But just know that while people turn their back on utility, on infrastructure, I believe that they are turning their back on the biggest pieces of the biggest pie in the entire world. Now, of course, memes will do well, but they will mostly be short-lived, and getting your 1000x winners is going to be very hard when everybody's chasing them and there's a million new coins per day. Whereas finding time-tested category winners that don't have a ton of VC unlocks coming, those are opportunities that anyone can sleepwalk into, sit on, and end up doing incredibly well from. I'm going to be making a big updated portfolio list so that you can see the things that I'm focused on. I've also started collaborating with and advising several projects in this space that I think have potential to really deliver interesting products that I think could actually become significant protocols in the space, some of which I already had positions in, some of which I didn't. I'll be going over those on upcoming videos. Point of today's video isn't an extensive portfolio list, but it's really a message that this is not the end of utility coins. And in fact, I believe that utility altcoins, especially those in the most important niches, AI, gaming, L1, L2, maybe even some DeFi stuff, those will start to become incredibly important assets as institutions start to warm up to crypto and as this bull run really starts to take off. Now, to be clear, we did get rejected at the range highs last week. My quant told me that that was a pretty significant rejection, and that means that we'll probably spend some time sorting ourselves out, reaccumulating price in the mid to low $60,000 territory, which again is a chance that probably altcoins and several other narratives will be on massive, massive discounts. I know what I'll be doing. I'll be allocating whatever new capital I have to crypto, though I am pretty much fully allocated for my stable coins. I do have my cash reserves on the side that are non-crypto, but I'm probably just going to let those sit there because knowing there's some cash there helps me just be full risk on in crypto and not worry about it. Because in the end, my strategy was to put away a little cash and I'm never going to put into crypto and I'll just live off that. And that way I can stand by my convictions really, really strongly, knowing that I'm willing to risk all this capital to not only join the elites of society, which is a silly thing to actually need to do, but to actually accomplish my goals, because capital is the actual life force of building the stuff I want to build. And to that effect, I'm going to be doing a lot of really cool stuff here that I'm very excited about, trying to expand the content here to be wildly different than stuff you've seen in the past. I'm very excited to show you guys all of that, so make sure you're staying tuned. But my message, I want to be very clear here, which is that crypto is going to heat up again. It's going to heat up massively, and utility altcoins will have their day in the sun once again. So my belief is that you should not capitulate your coins here, because if you do, you will end up in a world of hurt when all of a sudden the big institutional money turns their eyes on ETH, on Solana, on the core infrastructure that powers this industry. And if you're sidelined in the 100th iteration of a poorly drawn meme, I think you're going to be in a lot of pain as real money chases real technology. As always, if you guys enjoyed this, you know what to do. Smash that like button, share the video, and I'll be back very soon with more content. Thank you.